What sort of accommodation does 2,000 Swedish crowns buy you here in Stockholm? And wherever you're going, should you even spend big money on accommodation at all, or is it all a scam? Maybe you'd prefer to spend your money on a novelty, oversized microphone like the one I'm using now. Det vet jag inte. Also, if you're wondering how much 2,000 Swedish crowns is in your currency, well, it's kind of complicated and sort of what this video is about, so let's work it out while I give you the tour. By the way, if I appear kind of subdued and a bit nervous in this video, it's because I feel like the neighbors can, like the people in the other rooms, that's what neighbors are, can hear what I'm saying. And I just, I don't like that. The idea that they're like, oh, he's filming a YouTube video in there. Yes, I am. Okay, it's my job. Leave me alone, I'm working. So here we have a pretty standard, although slightly fancy room for either 1 or 2. Although 2 was extra, I booked for 1, obviously, because there's 1 of me. Very clean, I must say. The hallway is very clean. The lift is very clean. Stairwell, it's all very nice. I think this hotel has 9 floors, something like that. I'm on the 3rd one, so there's not much of a view except for the Audi dealership, which has a 1 in 3 chance of being the very same one that Anna Karolina wrote about in her book that basically served as my Swedish textbook when I was learning Swedish. So do with that information what you will. We have a nice bedroom / open living area thing. But let me show you my favorite feature of this place. I've never seen this feature anywhere, but it should be mandatory on all beds that have an attached reading light. Check this out. All the bedside lamps that I'm familiar with, whether they're built into the bed head or not, you can turn it on or off from the side that the lamp is on. But if you want to turn the other one on or off, you have to either lean over your partner and like squash them in the face with your chest, or you have to get out of bed and walk all the way around, and that's not ideal either. But no, on this one, they've just thought, why not put both bloody switches on both bloody sides? It's flippin' genius. Now, I'm not finished talking about the lights because I'm a big fan of lights.
I love lamp.
But for now, we have to talk about the Swedish crown. And for those who are going to be like, you should actually be saying krona. I'm speaking English, you dickhead. Okay, I'm not speaking Swedish. Om jag skulle prata svenska så skulle jag då säga krona. Men det gör jag inte. Jag pratar engelska just nu. Vad fan är fel med dig? Är du dum i huvudet? Det är krona när man pratar svenska. Det är crown när man pratar engelska. It sounds like it would be worth a lot, right? Crown, that sounds cool. It sounds, well, that's luxurious. It sounds better than dollar. It's not actually worth very much. In fact, it's worth so little and things cost so many of them that they don't really bother with the decimal here, which is the öre, or like we would call it the cent. For US dollars, it's very simple maths. You basically divide it by 10. If you really want to be accurate about it, you divide it by 10 and subtract a little bit. So if you've got something that's like 150 crowns, it's basically $15. You might say $14. You can also use these switches on both sides to turn on the light that is in the curtain rail bracket box thing right up there. Did you notice that I turned it on? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. I have no idea. I can't even see the screen right now. Let's be honest, it's very subtle light. I think they have one thing in mind for that light. That's mood lighting. And I'm not talking about your morning coffee. Emotion. Vad snackade vi om? Böcker. This is a reading chair. You read in it, I guess. No, it's good. This is the sort of thing that they have in Scandinavia because it's stylish and because people might actually want it to read. But in Australia, they do it only because they have it in Scandinavia. And they're like, oh, look, that looks like some very Scandinavian. But they know that no one's reading in this chair. No one can read in Australia. I'm looking forward to this book. I'm looking forward to so many books that I bought. I'm not looking forward to paying for the extra luggage home. But this cost me 15 spänn, 15 kronor. I mean, it's cheaper just to buy the extra luggage home. So it is one of those things that you've got to kind of get a feel for what's going to be cheap versus expensive in the country. Like in Mexico, books, used or otherwise, were crazy expensive, especially when you then compare it to everything else in the country, like food and accommodation. Here in Sweden, it's the opposite. Everything else is expensive. Books are basically free. I've been here for 10 days now, and honestly, I'm still not completely used to the fact that you cannot use how much light there is outside as a gauge for how much time there is left in the day. Like, you might as well use how clean your shoelaces are. Like, I'm not going to lie. I've ordered coffees as like my lunchtime coffee that I would have at home, and I've ordered them at 5:30 p.m. Here we have the bathroom, which is mind-blowingly good. I know I'm being overdramatic. The thing is, I've been staying in hostels, which are not known for their excellent bathing facilities. So any decent bathroom would be quite the contrast. But this shower is flippin' beautiful. The shower head is this huge thing that sits directly over your head, which a lot of people, including myself, prefer. And then there's the light. I told you we'd come back to lights. It's very often overlooked in bathrooms, the light. You normally just get some cheap, white, overpowered globe that just makes everything look dull and basically ruins all the work that they've put into anything else. Not in this bathroom. This light is beautifully placed next to the shower, and check this out, it's dimmable. Now, call me a country bumpkin, but I have never seen a dimmable light in a bathroom before. This is gorgeous.
I love lamp.
Back to the Swedish crown and the exchange rate, and whether this room was worth it, and what's a tight ass like me spending this kind of money on a room? Well, I actually have a confession. It wasn't 2,000 crowns. I thought it was near enough. That's how I remembered it at least. But when I actually checked what I was charged, it was just under 1,800 crowns. And that was actually for 2 nights. So per night, we're talking about $88. So now you realize that really by Western standards, this is pretty mid-tier. For a place of your own with its own bathroom and everything, you're probably talking quite entry-level actually. But again, remember I have been staying in hostels, so the last one I stayed in was about a quarter of this price. So to people who are traveling or planning on traveling, which I assume as language learners would be most of us at some point would be planning on traveling, I'm making this video for 2 reasons. One was I was just so sick of being in hostels, and I am just absolutely loving having my own space that I can film a video in, but also to give you a message. When you're traveling and you're booking things and places to stay and whatever, and thinking about what you're going to spend and not spend, remember to weigh everything, whether it's saving money or splashing out a little bit of money, against the reason that you're actually traveling, and do so very carefully, because sometimes the things that you don't think will affect what you're actually traveling for, and therefore you don't care about spending money on them, can be more important than you think. I thought that by booking cheap hostels, I was doing that well. That is, weighing the reasons that I'm actually traveling against the money that I'm spending, because I didn't come to Sweden for the hotels, okay? I came for the people who speak Swedish, who are outside, so I don't need to worry about what kind of place I'm staying in. But thankfully, on my 7th night of 13, and honestly, it would have been better on the first night, but whatever, that's done, I realized that hostels, as economic as they may be, were costing me significant time and energy every day that was stopping me from doing the stuff that I actually came here to do, which defeats the entire purpose of coming here and makes the whole flights and everything a complete waste. So I'm not actually saving money, I'm burning it. So this is general advice, but it applies especially if you're coming to Scandinavia, which is obviously not known for being cheap, and it is an expensive place. But in my limited experience, hotels and accommodation are not one of the more expensive things about it. In fact, in comparison to what other things cost here, hotels and accommodation are kind of cheap. I've done a reasonable amount of travel within like the travel that I'm here for, like as in I've gone around Sweden and to another place that I don't know that I can mention yet because I don't know when the videos are coming out. Because I've stayed in youth hostels like 6 or 7 nights, I'm pretty sure I've actually spent more on trains, or it would at least be very close. So accommodation that is better suited to you, either because it's a private room or because they have washing up facilities or because it's closer to the central part of the city that you're staying in or whatever, is mostly going to be worth it. But this is not at all me saying that you should always spend more on accommodation or anything like that. Sometimes, for a lot of people, especially language learners, it would actually be better to spend less because you're going to want a place like a youth hostel where there are actually people to talk to. But that's going to depend on the country and the languages you're learning and all sorts of stuff like that. I'm just saying that you should weigh it a bit more carefully than at least I weighed it at the beginning of this trip, where I just thought cheaper was better. But now I realize that $90 a night for a place that I can actually get a proper night's sleep in is an absolute bargain. And with that, I'm going to go and do that because, yeah, it's a bit after 10. Still looks like that outside. Hey, door. So they're actually not blackout curtains. I don't know how well you can see that, but yeah, there's, well, not a lot, but there's some light coming in through them at 1 in the morning. I'm not sure why blackout curtains are not just a standard fitting in Scandinavia. Seems really weird to me.